Welcome back to the Evolv podcast. I'm Rianon.
And I'm your better host, Brendon.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But for now, pretty much what this podcast is all about is self-development, health and fitness, and our journey starting as brand new business owners.
Let's go. Make sure that you share this around because I'm telling you right now, this is the best podcast you've ever seen.
Enjoy, guys. Ciao. Oh, all right. Welcome to another episode of the Evolv podcast with Brendon and Rianon today. Bit of a 360 moment, this one. Didn't ever think in a million years that I'd be sitting across the table from my old boss. But we're here. Today we have Daniel Collins. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So am I.
So
Just
is he
saying
interviewing
that-
you today? Or?
I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon. Well, that's funny you say
Because it's
that,
usually
right?
the other way around, right?
Well, I actually interviewed Rhiannon
When he got his first job.
many years ago when you
Prior
just
to-
finished your Cert 4, eh?
Yeah, prior
That was
to-
at Cogra.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
is this your first job?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I nearly hired him, and then I didn't. And then, what was it?
Andre.
3 years ago.
Andre was training at Mortdale and he's like, oh, I got this opportunity for you. Come on down.
That was it, yeah. And then that was what, 2022?
Yep.
And then we got back together there. We got back together
Wow.
there, yeah. So
So you
yeah.
reapplied for the same job?
Essentially, yeah. Well, when in the beginning, I was just doing my hours at Cogra.
Yeah, the trainer experience.
Yeah,
right?
so I was
Yeah,
doing that, and then it was me, Randall, and some other guy.
That's
and
right.
they threw me in the corner, and they were like, "All right, you're going to fight for the spot now." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
really?" I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll go on my merry way." And I
Yeah.
ended up going to the city, and then ended up pretty much back to where we were in the beginning.
Yeah,
So-
but you did on your stints at F45s and all that as well.
Yeah,
then you came
yeah,
back
He
and
did all the group training stuff.
yeah.
I told him he was a bit foodie for that.
No, he was good. But when he came back, I've fired, I don't know, hundreds of people over the last 10 odd years, right?
Man, hiring PT is a difficult job. I reckon.
Well, I hope we get into that
We will
later.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely will.
Because it's definitely hard. But just credit to Rianon, like he was one of the ones that I didn't like. He ended up leaving to go on and do all this stuff, right? But it was one of the ones that I didn't want to leave, right? Like, and you can usually tell, like, if you're an experienced business owner, you can usually tell when someone's on their way out, right? And I knew you were on your way out.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that was happening. But it was, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Damn.
I didn't want this guy to.
You never want your good PTs
Nah,
to leave.
exactly right. Because he was great at his craft, but more importantly, he was a good communicator, and clients loved you, right? So yeah. But anyway, look.
Enough
look at-
sucking me off. I'm joking.
Well,
But-
made you not hire him in the first place, actually? That's something I want to know.
Well, it wasn't. I don't think I didn't not hire him. It was more. He was doing the training experience.
I
and
chose
was,
not to.
And I was. I had.
You had like three options.
I had Randall, who's now my manager at Mortel,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Okay.
because.
So he was running up against someone that's actually still really good as well.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's down there now. He's about to become my business partner in the next probably 6 months, right?
That's
But
great.
Wow, okay.
it was more. I had to sell a dream as well. Like it was about me opening Mortel back in 2019, and I wanted to open a studio, but I didn't actually have a studio.
Yeah.
So there was kind of a position available, but
It was just
more,
dust in the air at the time.
correct, exactly right. And then with Randall, obviously he had he was just sticking around because he was doing other stuff. He had a bit of a side gig, whatever. And so that's how all that
Far
went.
out.
There you go.
But here we are.
Yeah,
It's good.
full
It's good. But
360.
we've always stayed in touch, right? We've always stayed in touch.
Bits and pieces, like
Yeah.
throughout the couple years that I haven't
Yeah.
been there. What's it been? A year and a half?
Oh, probably a year and a half. It'd be
Yeah.
2 years. It'd be 2 years.
2 years.
It'd be
that's
2
right.
years, I think.
Oh yeah,
so.
2 years
well,
since you left,
Yeah,
yeah.
since we
Yeah,
started Dynamics
since you
as
started
well.
all this. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
but we've always stayed in touch, and I like people when they leave my business, whether it's good reason or bad reason, when they go and have a crack at life. Like I always respect that. Like even if it's obviously in the same field as me, like I don't, so all my best mates are in the fitness game. All my best mates are in that, and in within the Vision personal training network that I'm in, and not. So it's good. Like it's good competitiveness. But anyway, like whoever leaves and has a crack at life, you can't fault them for that. Like
100%.
it's
Nah,
the
no
best
way.
shit. It's the
Yeah.
best shit. So yeah, no, I'm proud of you for having a crack.
Thank you.
And doing
I
this.
appreciate it. Thank
You know
you.
what?
Thank
Well
you.
done, Ree.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there you go. It's just turned into what we're interviewing Ray now.
I'm going all red, man. Shit. All right. Well, give everyone a little bit of an introduction into yourself, what you do, and we'll go from there.
An introduction about me. I guess. Well, I'm not from the country. Let's start there.
Yeah.
So I'm from Ireland. When was I born? I was born in '92. Grew up in a kind of the countryside in Ireland. Always loved sport. Like always loved sport. And then I fell into the gym when I was young, probably like 13, 14, started training because I needed to start training because I needed to get bigger and stronger for the sport that I was playing.
Yep.
And then I started, I'll never forget, like when I started training, I started getting these compliments. You know, as you're a young kid, like you're like 14, 15, like, oh, you look good, your arms and this and that. Like it was like 62
Look at your
kilos, right?
biceps,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I was like 62 kilos, but you're like, oh, you remember those compliments. So then, so I was started training. Then I was like 18. I was up to no good in that part of my life, that teenage part of my life. And then
Same
I don't
as
feel
us.
like any guys are.
yeah, like it
same
was.
as us.
Oh, mine was pretty bad. Like mine was pretty like where it was probably. Look, I was going down a bad road. My dad had left Ireland to Australia, and I think it was 2008 or 2009.
Yeah.
The GFC happened in Ireland. Ireland was crap. Blah blah blah. He left, came over here. He was working. I just finished. I actually repeated school my final year because I was young in my year. I was young, so I went back, done the final year, and then after that, I was up to no good. Then Dad goes, "I'll come out here for a year, work, take a break before you go to uni or whatever." I probably wasn't going to go to uni. I wasn't getting the grades to go to uni, but he said, "Come out here for a year." Came out here, and then I started working after as a concreter. I was a concreter,
Yeah.
and then moved to Sydney, seen a personal trainer in Fitness First, The Edge.
Yep.
And I was with my mate. I'd never seen a personal trainer. So this go back to 2012, right? I've come from the country in Ireland. There was gym instructors.
But there was no
never
PTs.
one-on-one PT.
Yeah.
I'm in Fitness First in Bondi. I'm training with my mate, and I go to him. I go, "What's that guy over there?" And he goes, "That's a personal trainer." I'm talking jacked,
Yeah. Like a
120
machine.
kilo
Yeah.
personal trainer, Bondi,
Yeah.
that look.
Oh, that's
I'm
some
like,
sort of vibe.
yeah, like the whole
You can
9
pick
yards,
it.
every single thing that you could think, like that stereotype PT,
Yep.
that was him. And I'm like, what does he do? He's like, oh, he just teaches people how to lift weights and train and that.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, what?
Sounds
No,
good.
sounds good. That's exactly
They
what
don't
I
have
want to
any
do.
of that in Ireland.
No, it probably did, but not where I was. Not where
Oh,
I
in the
was.
countryside.
countryside.
It was in the countryside. It's not like the countryside. It's like it's a small town, right?
Yeah.
But it's not Dublin, the capital city, right? So there was no one-on-one PT.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then,
yes.
so then, yeah, I kid you not, I look up and there's a sign on the wall, and it's like, "Do you want to become a personal trainer?" And it was at AIF back in the day in St.
Yeah,
Leonard's,
yep.
and I'm like, "Yep,
Perfect.
sweet." I was
They're
in the
still running,
company.
right?
Sorry,
AIF?
yeah, still going. I think, yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Maybe they've rebranded, but
They
yeah,
rebranded.
they've rebranded.
Oh,
but they've-
AIPT, I'm pretty sure. Now.
Something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I just went up the next day, caught a train to St. Leonard's. Lady sold me like the best sale of her
Yeah.
life. Gave her $8,000, and I was a PT 8 weeks later. And now, fast forward, that was 2000, and that was May to that, probably
Wait, did you just say 8 weeks?
8 weeks.
That's very similar to
Wow.
me.
8
I did it in
weeks.
6 months.
8 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I got the. Like,
Yeah.
like,
The,
Like
the-
there's so
the
much.
good
There's
deal.
so many smarter PTs than me right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, 8 weeks. 8 weeks. I paid $8,000. 8 weeks later, I was a PT, and then that was May 2012. I'd finished the course.
Yep.
And here we are in 2020, end of 2024, starting 2025.
Yeah.
And I do a lot more than
Yeah.
one-on-one PT now. So yeah, it's
Good
it's a
innings, that
cool-
one.
Yeah, it was, mate. It was cool. It was cool. Yeah.
And then obviously from Fitness First, you started there. Were you a PT there, and then
No,
you went
no.
to Vision?
No. So then I was got the qualifications in 2012, and then I said I'm going to. I remember there's a marketing course, right? There's a marketing course that the AIF guys do.
Yeah, yeah.
And the CEO, this Vision, the guy that owns Vision, Andrew Simmons, right? So he's there. He's doing the chat. And I'll never forget it. Like the thought that went through my head as he's delivering and telling his spiel about vision and all the rest of it. And I'm just going in my head. I'm just like, that's it. That's just what I want to do. Just want to be him.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I left that course, and then I lived in Bondi, right?
Yep.
So at the time, and I went into Vision Personal Training in Bondi for an interview. And I didn't get fucking hired.
Oh, really?
They didn't hire me.
I didn't.
They didn't hire me.
Everyone from Ireland always moves to Bondi.
Yeah. Well, I done a short stint there because of like, if I just stayed there, it would have been
Reckless.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah, put it that way. So I would have been just drinking all my money, and that was that lifestyle for me, especially back then. But yeah, I went in there, didn't get hired in my first one.
Wow.
And I loved that. I'm like,
Similar to Rianon.
I'm like, why didn't I?
As if you didn't.
Why didn't you
As if
hire
you
me?
didn't hire me.
Why didn't you hire me? Anyway, they were like, because we still do it to this day, right? It's crazy. The same interview process really hasn't really changed, right? And at the end of the group interview, so you get like 3 or 4 people in the room or whatever, they do the spiel, all right, and they'll go at the end of it. I'll still do it. If you really want to work here, you go home and you think about it and you text us, right? And I literally just walk down the stairs and I text. I'm like, I want to work here.
Straight away.
That was it. And then anyway, nothing happened. I was like, didn't get the job, and I said, fuck that. And then I ended up applying at Vision Personal Training, Clarence Street, back in 2012.
Oh, it's in the city, right?
In the city, in the city.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful that happened, right? Because I met some, like I said, I met my best mate, who's still, like, he's still my best mate, business partner today. Met him, and everything else off the back of that came out of that place. And I learned some good stuff from the owners and managers at the time back then as well. So I learned a lot from there. And then I was there for probably 3 years, and then Matt went and bought Cogra, and then I went there, and then all the rest of it kicked on. Yeah, so that's kind of that's that part of it back then.
So you got your first job at Vision basically as your first PT job.
Correct.
And you stayed in the brands the rest of your career.
Correct. And I don't see myself like, you know, I don't see, there's so many people that have come and gone in that network, like as
like rinse
owners.
and repeat.
Yeah, like a lot of
Like tried different things.
Like, and don't get me
F45s,
wrong,
you know?
F45 guys over here, like, which is good. Like F45 were good at the time, you know, as well.
It's a good brand.
Well, that
They're a good
short
brand.
period.
Yeah, they had a crack. But that's the thing, like, that's what I love about Vision. They've been around the block for
25 years
25
now.
years.
Yeah.
25
And they're
years.
still going strong.
Still going strong.
It's a system you can't really beat.
I believe it's the best in terms of one-on-one personal training. I think it's the best system in the world. I think it's the best system in the world. That's why I have 5 of them.
What's a repeatable system?
Correct.
It's like McDonald's.
Correct. That's it. 100%. That's good and bad though. That's good and bad. Like, I think in our ones, like, as much as it's a great system, and the systems allows me to have 5 of them, right? There's 6 with my business partner, but I have 5 of them.
You're buying real estate at this point.
Yeah, that's probably what we need to do. But the system is so good, it allows us to do that. However, we also need to be careful that you don't lose that human touch as well and become robotic, you know, because it's very easy to, you know, make it that it's you're just ticking boxes, and you don't want that to be happening. You don't want to be a box ticker. You want to be a great PT, which communicates extremely well, and then you just have a great system behind you to amplify that.
Yes,
That's the idea
100%.
of it. But yeah, I think it's been crazy. It's been a crazy journey. I think I'll be there. I don't see myself wrapping it up or anytime soon. I can anyway. But even if I did want to wrap it up, I don't think so. Like, I've just added another one. Like, that's the 5th one that we've just added, and then I'll add a couple of more next year. I'm addicted to it as well. Like, I like the hustle, the grind, the stress of it all.
That's a
The
good
building
addiction.
of it.
Sorry,
The building of it.
I love the building of it. I love finding the site, creating it, and then filling it with great
Good
people.
PTs.
Yeah, great PTs and great clients, and then watching that person flourish, like, that's the best part. Like, we've got one now at all of them, like, but.
So where are your locations now? There's Concord.
So I started off in Cogra,
Yep.
right? I don't own that one, but I started off there. So Matt still owns that one. And then after that, in 2019, late 2019, we opened Mortdale. Then after Mortdale, we had all the bullshit happening in 2020, 2021,
Yeah,
right? So
COVID.
all the lockdowns and all
Oh,
that
how'd
crap.
you guys go in that period?
Yeah, like everyone had their own stories out of that.
Yeah.
I reckon. So it happened like twice. The lockdowns happened twice, right? So 2020 we opened, or 2019 we opened Mortel, and I had an amazing run from October 2019 to February 2020, right?
Yeah.
The studio just went gangbusters,
Yeah.
like crazy growth, all of that. And then we got locked down. I'm like, this is fucked. Like, I just opened a business. I literally had no money. You see my story the other day, like, it was my 5-year anniversary. So I put up this little post on Facebook and that. And, like, reflecting on that was, like, it was crazy. But I literally had no money. Like, I had no money. I invested everything. Like, I was skint, zero. And then this happened. And I'm going, but we were growing. We were growing before that. So I'm like, oh, this is good. We're happy days. Next minute, hey, guys.
Yeah.
Close your doors. I'm like, oh, fuck. What the fuck? But it made me, because I had no choice but to become a better leader, a better business owner in that time. So it allowed me to train and develop my staff in ways that had never been done before. So I had to train them over Zoom. I had to develop them over Zoom, all of this sort of stuff. And it also allowed me to stop being in the business and work on the business,
E-myth.
which I don't think,
yes.
the E-myth, yeah. So and I don't think I would have ever, I probably would have, but that
You would have
forced
eventually,
me.
but it forced you to do
It
it.
forced me to do it. And then, we were locked down and everybody was locked down. And I think we got, crazy growth off the back of that, which we did. We got crazy growth. Like it's one of the most successful studios in the country. Like I think even outside of Vision, in terms of one-on-one
This is
personal
Mortel,
training,
right?
this is Mortel, yeah. In terms of one-on-one personal training, it's probably one of the most successful in the country, right? Not just within the network. And there's other people that are within the network that are doing better than me. But I would also consider them also the best in the country at what they do, right?
Because everyone has different niches and different areas of expertise.
Yeah, exactly right. Whereas we're just 98% of our income is what we do is one-on-one PT. Whereas you go to these other gyms, they do a bit of one-on-one. They have saunas and ice baths. They have a Pilates room. They have group training, a bit of this, bit of that. They have a bit of everything. So they have multiple streams of income. Whereas we're just one-on-one.
Which are good, but you guys just focus on your craft and you get good at your craft.
100%. 100%. It can be good. It can be good, and there's negatives and pros and cons to both,
you do.
right? Yeah. So if you get it good, you get it right. It's pretty good.
It's a smoother process.
But yeah, it's a lot of hard work. A lot of time, a lot of hard work, but it's good. But yeah, like I think because everyone was locked down in that period of time, we benefited from that fact because everyone wanted to get out and do something, right? So yeah, it was pretty good.
Essentially, my brother was speaking about this the other week, and he was talking about how when he was going through that big weight loss journey, like you were watching those clips, he was talking about working while everyone was sleeping. Yeah. And I feel like that period of COVID was probably the darkest times for most businesses that were shutting down.
Yeah.
But there were multiple businesses like yourself and like other businesses around that flipped it on its head and was like, no, that's not going to happen today. We got to push forward. We got to show leadership. We got to do these. How did you learn to develop those skills in order to build your brand or yourself and your businesses to where they are today?
I had no choice. That's the simple
Backed
answer.
in a corner.
I had no choice. Like I had, like just on the Mortel one, I had just signed. Yeah, it was. I was. Like, if I didn't have a crack, like I was sinking. I just signed a 5-year commercial lease July 1st, 2019. I didn't open my business till October. So can you imagine that period of time there? I was like, I already was cash flow negative until we opened. So that was already happening. So I already have a 5-year lease. I have a 5-year term with my franchise. I have a business debt as well of $169,000.
Wow.
I have not. What are you meant to do, right? Like you can't because you have to. You can't do anything. I have to make this work. And my wife fell pregnant
at that time as well.
No.
Like so we opened in October. She fell pregnant in August, like 2 months before. So my wife. So we got locked down in March or end of March, I think it was. It was just something like that. my son Christian was born in May.
Oh, he was a
So then I
COVID
have
baby.
he was a COVID baby. He was born
Wow.
May 2020,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Wow.
so I've got all this debt. My business closed down, and my
The kid.
kid is born. So I'm
Just
going,
one thing on top of the
so-
other.
But
Oh,
that's why I
yeah.
had to become better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had to become better.
And
So,
responsibilities, you had
I
overheads.
had
See, a lot of
overheads,
people would
responsibilities.
fail at that point.
Some
Like
do.
with that many things to focus on at one point, you know?
Yeah, look, and I think like over the years, I've discovered that I strive in that
Difficult points.
heat of
Mm,
the
the heat of the
kitchen,
moment.
like just
Yeah.
like give it all to me. I'm actually a bad operator, a bad mate, husband, boss, all of those things when I've got nothing to do and no pressure, no stress in my life. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's
Okay.
something wrong
When
in my
there's
head.
no pressure on the plate, you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, sweet, I can just chill. But then you turn into what you don't want to be.
Yeah, yeah. I need a challenge. Like I like the
Yeah.
challenge. So, but I've done a lot of reading in that time. We were always doing personal development. That's like I was saying this.
I was going to bring this up, but yeah, go
yesterday
on.
or the day before to someone that that first job that I got in 2012 at Clarence Street. Like my boss and the guys there were just so big on personal development. And I remember I went in the room and we were doing the one-on-one meeting. And he's like, "Have you ever read a book before?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I had read one book,
Yeah.
and it was Stephen Gerrard's autobiography, right? Like, that was it. I don't know if you read
Stevie.
that. Stevie, yeah, that's it. He was my idol back in
Yeah.
the day. So I'm like, yeah, read his book. And he's like, "Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You'd read like something like that." He goes, "But read this book." And it was How to Win Friends and Influence People
Oh, that's a
by Dale,
cracker book, that
by
one.
Dale Carnegie. And then that was just the start of that journey. And then I read that book back then. I was maybe 20, 21 years of age, and I probably only took 5% out of it. Do you know what I mean? And I've read books like that were probably too advanced for me at the time back then. But I think I look back today and I've got little bits and pieces out of all these little books that I implement today. And now that the book that I read back in 2014 that made no sense to me
Now it
makes sense to me today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm living and breathing it. But
Back
on
then
that,
you weren't, but now you are. So
correct,
you're
yeah,
picking it up.
because it's hard to implement. If you read a management book, but you're not really
If
a
you're not
manager,
managing, then it makes
yeah,
no sense.
you can read the book and you can look at it and you go, okay, yeah, but it's sometimes it's difficult to implement it straight away. You can implement things from How to Win Friends and Influence People, Atomic Habits,
The 7 effective.
yeah, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can implement things like that, but even those books, I was implementing
Bits and
10%,
pieces.
but 10% was better than
Zero.
0, and I was 10% better than the person who wasn't reading
Yes.
and developing.
100%.
Do you know what I
Good
mean?
mindset.
That was it. Like I was just a little bit better than the other. I was actually not. There was so much better people than me. Like there was still to this day. There was better PTs, better probably smarter
Business
operators.
owners and everything.
Yeah,
Mm.
but I'll chip away. I'll chip away. I'll do that a little bit more, and over time, and
It'll
and
pay off in the
it
end.
pays off,
Paid off.
and I'll win. I'll win in the end.
Mm.
So yeah, but on that personal development topic, like now though, I kind of get personal development like real life
Mm.
PD.
So actually doing the
I'm
work.
doing the work, yeah. Like I'm like, and also the best way to like really grow and learn is when you do something, you're like, oh fuck, that didn't work, and then
You make the mistakes and then you relearn it, right?
correct, make the mistakes. That's the best way to really learn,
Gain something
learn and
from
grow.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I still read books. Like I probably read like I read like property books and stuff now. I don't really read the leadership stuff.
Well, because you're at that level now.
It's
You're
not-
like,
well-
I'm gonna buy another franchise, so might as well.
It's kind of that. Like it is kind of that. But it's like we kind of have our own system and formula in place now. So then when we do acquire business or
Copy and
buy a
paste.
new one, yeah, we kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
So you could like we got 5, 6 now. I reckon if you give me another 4 tomorrow morning, it wouldn't stress me out.
Yeah.
The hardest one was going from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
That was fucked.
The first.
Like I'm like, oh,
That initial
getting all
jump.
these emails, getting all these. I mean, like I was saying this to the guys the other day, like my business partners and that. I was like that 1 to 2 were in. We had one group chat. Now we have 2 group chats. We have 1 set of emails, and we got 2 set of emails. Now I'm in 11 group chats right? Like for business, just for business. Then there's the boys chats and all that crap that you got to keep up to date with as well. But it's and then you got all the emails. But it doesn't, like, I've got a system and formula in my head that we can deal with that stuff. So it's not as bad. And as I said, like, I think you could give me 3 or 4 more tomorrow morning, and it wouldn't really phase me or impact me too much. Like, be a bit
another 3 to 4 group chats, what?
Yeah, that's the only problem. Like, that's the only, like, yeah, we got like, I think it's nearly 35, 40 personal trainers on like employed by us.
Yeah,
employed by us total. Yeah.
Oh, total. Yeah.
Total. Yeah. So there's a few studios that have bigger numbers of staff. Like Motel has like 8 or 9 or something like that. And
that's the biggest
one. That's the biggest number of PTs. But all the other ones are growing as well. So like, I reckon this time next year we'll probably have 50 PTs on our books that we got to look after. And that's a responsibility, right? Like, I got to make sure that these succeed to put food.
And just so everyone understands, they're basically full-time PTs as well.
Full-time PTs, yeah. Like, they're casually employed. They're casually employed, but they're full-time pretty much, yeah. So, like, the least someone might do would be, if they're a uni student, in the 20 to 25 hours.
Yeah, that's still a lot of hours.
A lot of hours. And then they're still doing uni 2-3 days a week, but they're not doing, like, none of them, I'm pretty sure, none of them have like external jobs. Like, they're not working at the coffee shop to supplement their income or anything like that. Like, they work for us, and it's our job to make sure that we provide the income that they need.
Uni, 25 hours is like their cap, I'd say.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. You don't really, you get a few outliers. I got a few outliers down in Mortel. Like,
they're full grinders, right?
Yeah, they're animals. Yeah, I got one kid, like, he's my family friend, like family cousin as well, and he's just like I don't even know how he does it, to be honest. He's just an animal, and I've seen animals in the past as well. But it's hard. It's more and more difficult to find those animals now. Like, and it's hard to keep them as well. Like, it's hard to keep them because, well, one, they're either going to do what they're studying at uni, which is totally fine, or 2, which is also totally fine, is they're going up in their own businesses, right? Like,
yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and that's good. Like, that's what I'm in the business of, is growing people to go and have a better life and do their own thing. Yeah, whether it's with me or not, that's totally fine. But it's all about, because I'll get the best out of them for 2 years, 3 years. Like, that's that animal, I'm gonna get the best out of him for 2-3 years.
Get the fruits of his work, and that's it.
6 months, squeeze the shit out of it.
Yeah, you had a short stint.
Yeah, it was very short stint, but like,
we only 6 months.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 months, something like that.
Yeah, he jumped to 10 jobs back then.
I know.
Yeah,
this is the longest. You've had.
Yes, it is actually. To be fair,
it is.
But you were the first person to actually make me want to go outside the norm. So essentially, when I first started,
he's mentioned you a few times.
Actually.
As a very big influential.
He's cute.
That's good.
I'm gonna take a drink of water now.
Yeah, if you're gonna get cry, it's all right, mate. Cry in your
so
podcast.
You can cry on the podcast. It's all right.
So there
you
was
want some
time.
views? This is where you gotta get some views, mate. This is it.
Clip this one.
Yeah. So essentially, when I first started there, that was the first time a leader actually told me, "Okay, what are you doing? Are you steering yourself in the right direction? Are you being the person you want to be for the future you? You got us reading books. You got us doing things outside of the normal norm, which essentially I viewed from an outsider point of view and looked in on what you were doing. You developed a lot of leaders. You developed a lot of people that learn to understand their worth, and not a lot of people get leaders like that in their job, in their sector, wherever they're working. Macca's doesn't matter. The most influential part of any job that you take or partake in is that leader form, which was you in that part. I was down on my finances. I couldn't pull money together to pay off my car. And he'd sit me down and be like, "What are you doing, mate?" Exactly like you do now, which is copy and paste, because he does the same thing.
Yeah.
And that was a very big moment in my life, was learning that in a short period of time of 4 or 5 months, how effective just communicating with someone at a higher level was to me.
Yeah.
So I really want to thank
I thought that was
I know, I was getting there.
I thought there was a question coming out of that.
There was. How did you acquire the skills to develop the next leader? Because obviously you wouldn't be able to copy and paste what you're doing now without having that skill. So how did you learn that part? Obviously,
it's
you're
a
back.
hard one. Like it's a
Yeah.
hard one because like I was trying to mold mini Denny's. You know what I mean? And that's not. And now I've only realized that over the last couple
Oh,
of
so it's
years.
your fault these PTs are leaving.
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
In a
like
good
if you
way- in a
really,
good way,
look,
yeah.
it is.
If you're really
like,
deep, it kind of
if
is.
it is my
You're getting
like,
them to read books.
yeah,
you're
it
getting
is.
them to work on
100%.
themselves,
You hit the nail on the
Point
head though.
proven,
Like
right?
it is my
Yeah.
fault. Like,
Yeah.
and if you as a leader don't take responsibility for people leaving
Exactly,
your business,
yeah.
like you got to look yourself in the mirror,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I've had this year. I've probably had 1, 2, 3, there's probably 4 people that have come in and out of Mortel this year, right? And far more in the other ones, right?
That's
And
a
it's the
credit to
leader.
you, though. That's your leadership.
Well, no, people leaving, not for all the right reasons. There was
Oh,
two
okay.
that two that
okay.
left for the right reasons. One went internal into one of my other businesses. Went from Mortel to Balmain to progress his career. Lenny, right? And
yeah.
then one of the guys, Jeremy Lombardo, he went on to open Vision Willoughby,
Yep.
right? So
Oh,
that's
yes.
good. They're great. Like you want those people, but those other people that we hired and had left, and I didn't train my manager and the people in charge of that enough to make better decisions, right? Like, so that is on my fault. So, and if people come in out of your business, it is it's the latest fault. And, even if I'm not directly in charge of that recruitment process, I'm directly in charge of training the guy who's directly in charge of that
Yes.
recruitment process. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, whoever's in charge, it stops with me,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned this year. Like if I could go back, I was blessed at Mortel. We hired the first 2-3 people that were guns, and they're still with me today. Like, and that's what's made the business.
Yeah.
But the other ones, we took the eye off the ball and we let people who weren't as experienced as myself or my business partner probably do recruiting, which is the most important part of the job. And no fault of their own, but we didn't train and develop them in what to pick and what to do, right?
Yes.
So then we've had that backlash over the last probably 18 months, right, with people coming and going. But now since July, I've kind of jumped back into one of them and helped out, and I've noticed going, oh my God, it's just that this is our fault. Like we just should have done this 18 months ago and trained and developed these people to ask better questions, mentor better, hold people accountable to higher standards, and don't be afraid to say, hey, Rianon, that's not good enough, and that's not how we operate here. This is how we operate, and if you want to be part of this, this is the level. And if you don't want to be part of that, that's totally okay as well, and jog on. So as hard as that is, and as it might sound, but that's if you want to
It's the
create
harsh reality of it.
you want to create a good culture, a good standard in them. That's what needs to happen. You need what is that standard? What are your values? Hire on that, and then make sure that you live by it every single day. And when someone is not living by it, pull them up on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like on that recruitment side of things, 100%. Like it's all of them has pretty much been my fault. But I've learned. You learn.
Yeah.
You live and you
100%.
learn. You live and you
100%.
learn. So yeah.
Now, do you have like a sixth sense when it comes to hiring the right PT?
I'd like to say I do. I'd like to say look, I think, I was with my mate yesterday. I was with, Dimmy?
Yeah.
Dimmy. I was with Dimmy yesterday. We go for walks like every couple of weeks and we just walk around and just brainstorm. That's how I get my PD, actually. That's where I was going with the other question earlier, the PD. I get my PD from now going on walks with my mates and other people and sitting down and talking. Other business owners and ideally other people that are doing more than me as well and have bigger problems.
That is a good way to learn.
Yeah, because you're like, this is the
Indirect
problem.
mentoring,
Yeah, this is how I've dealt with the problem that you're having now. So yeah. Sorry, what was the question just before that? That I sidetracked on.
Far out, I went blank as well.
What was that? Does anybody remember?
Do you have a sixth sense when it comes to hiring PTs?
No, but I think when you sit down in front of someone, your gut tells you something, right? And now this is where I fucked up in the past. Like, this guy is good, right? Like he's told me the story and blah, blah, blah. And my gut's telling me and I'm like, sweet, get him on. And we've got 4 to 5 stages of the recruitment process, right? And I'd skip them all. I'd skip them all, really. Like I'd ask a few questions. I'm like, I know better than than the system
the
or
process,
than the
yeah.
process, right? Because my gut's telling me, and I've been
Well, you're
around.
the owner. You're like, you know what? He's
Exactly.
all right. Let's just
Exactly, and a bit
Sink
of
in
ego.
food.
You get a bit of you get ego driven, and you're like, oh, I've been around the block for 10 years. I've seen it, done it, blah blah blah. He can do it, and every time I've felt that and done it, I've been wrong, been wrong,
The
right? Like,
carpet's been taken.
Wow.
from
yeah,
under
I
you.
just get the rug pulled, and then.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is, even if you do feel that, still ask the questions, still do the process, and when you feel the good ones, it just makes that feeling even better over that
Yeah.
week or 2 weeks of the interview process. You're like, oh my god, this is going to be the next. I've literally had it like pretty much the last 6 months across a few of the businesses that I've been recruiting for, and I've been saying that, like, I've delivered interviews in such a way that I'm trying to scare them away from working for me, and then there was like 3 or 4 people just kept showing up across a couple of different businesses that kept showing up, and I'm like, why would these people keep showing up? And they just keep showing up to the next interview, to the
But
fitness
that's the
test.
PTs that you would want, though.
They're the ones I want, because I make it out way worse than it's actually going to be. I'm like, this is fucked. 6 months,
remember.
horrible. Yeah, you're going to have to go through a 9-week rookie program. If you don't fill out your food diary, you're going to sack you. Like, if you or whatever, like all the bad stuff. Like, I'll sell a story that's absolutely horrible, to see
How they handle it.
Who
How they handle it.
survives? Yeah.
who survives. And
Survival
then-
of the
Sink or
fittest.
swim.
Correct. And then, sure enough, the ones that we have over the, like all of them that we've hired really through
Yeah.
that process, I just came away from that process. I started getting a bit nice, and also, this is the other thing with recruitment, right? Turned into like a HR podcast. But the other thing with recruitment is, when you're desperate for hires, you make those
Silly
shitty calls.
Yes.
You gotta hire
made
when you're
heaps
not
of those.
desperate. You can't hire, like, you can't. And even if you do, like, if you are desperate, you really should stick to the core values, because you'll win in the end.
That's what we've noticed,
Yeah, you
especially
can.
in our business. It's like Brendon takes charge of the HR department, so
Yeah.
he's in charge of all the trainers, and he'll develop their skills and do one-on-one meetings with them and seminars every month, and so he'll do the constant development. There have been periods where there's been a big
Rushing for
influx.
PTs.
Yeah,
Like, I'm trying to rush for PTs, and I skip all the
Yeah.
usual onboarding process.
Yeah.
Those PTs don't last long.
there you
at all.
go. There you go. Whose fault's that?
Mine.
Exactly right.
all your
That's
fault,
it.
mate.
Yeah, that's
Ego.
it. It
Exactly
is,
what
though.
you said before.
It
Ego. Because I was like, oh yeah, I've done this heaps of times. I've got on heaps of interviews.
There you go.
I know the PTs that are good.
Yeah,
I assumed that.
yeah,
Went into the interview, I was like, let me just skip him through the process because we need him now.
yeah. That's
Week
it.
one?
That's the problem.
Gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Like
it.
that.
You gotta
And just
do
disappear.
them, because people can bullshit you for the 20 minutes or an hour interview and tell you what you want to hear, and you're like, oh my god, and you get a bit excited. But then you gotta drag that interview process out. You gotta put them in the spot. You gotta put them in where, like, see them in action, and that's where you see the true colors. And usually you only see someone's actual true colors after 2-3 months as well.
Yeah, it
You
takes
know, like,
time.
it takes time.
Yeah.
But if you do a really
The
good
honeymoon phase.
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
If you do a really good solid interview
Intake.
process and ask the right questions, and also, like, ask linking questions, that just to, like, oh, what are your strengths? And they'll be like, I've got great integrity or whatever.
And
You're
I've got
okay,
big biceps.
yeah, or big biceps, yeah. But, like, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Like, give me an example of when you showed that.
Yeah.
You know, and then they'll be like, and you're like, well, have you really?
Is it
done
actually your
Is it-
strength?
Is it
Like,
actually
if it
or-
was your strength, you'd be able to
Yeah.
talk about it.
or your
right?
weakness, and
Yeah.
and one of my favorite questions is, who's your role model? That tells a lot about somebody. And then
Oh, that's a good one.
and then
I'm gonna use that in my next one.
yeah.
Oh, there we go.
You should. Who's your role model? And then, like,
You can bounce off that.
whatever they say, then you go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
When people say, oh, it's my dad, I love it, like mom or dad, and you're like, okay, that's interesting. All right, tell me a little bit about that. And then
Yeah.
you start to learn about their family and their family values.
Dive
and then
deeper.
That
And
generally
that tells you
then-
about them as well.
that tells you
indirectly.
most about them, I reckon, when you start to go down the family side
The
of
family
things.
side of things. And the other side of the fence there, it shows how you value your business at the end of the day with your questions and your relationship that you build in the very beginning with them.
Yeah.
Because then they see that and they're like, oh, I've never been asked that question before. That's like a bit of a curveball.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I want to, like, when we hire people, like, I want to be able to go out with them on the weekend, have a drink,
Mm.
be able to invite them to, you know, like something that my family, like if my daughter's christening, you know, in a couple of months' time, like be able to invite my staff and people to that. Like that's kind of, I don't want to have to be in an awkward position where I don't really want to have a conversation with this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every single person across the ones that I'm involved in regularly, I'd be happy to have a conversation or have a drink or like in a one-on-one setting. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's but learnings, heaps of mistakes.
That takes a lot of time to develop, though.
Yeah.
Right?
For
How long did it take you to
13
develop
years,
those skills?
13 years,
there we go.
14 years. But I've really learned over the last probably 12 to 18 months, like, because I'm really
That's when you made your biggest changes, right?
biggest mistakes. So I think when
Okay,
you make your
yeah.
biggest mistakes, you kind of have to make your biggest
Learnings as
changes
well.
and biggest learnings off the back of that. But it's kind of like if you asked any business owner, their biggest challenge is recruitment. Like it's
Recruitment.
generally, you know, or they might say sales and that. But you know, if you get right people
Recruitment
in,
is tough.
yeah,
I have a question for you, and it relates to obviously being a PT. This is for an example from us. There was a period in time where we started developing the business. It was going really well and really, really smooth. And then we hit a bit of not a low point, but a low point in terms of our fitness and our health.
Yeah.
And it completely disappeared. I put on weight. I wasn't going to the gym as often. He was going to the gym and then he'd steer off and we'd just go on different parts. Was there any period like that throughout your time being a business owner, and how did you get out of it?
if you ask my mates, right, like because we talk about our goals every year, and
What, fitness goals?
fitness goals, all goals. Like, well,
Yeah.
like I was even in the group chat this morning, and I'm like, oh, I'm struggling with some goals for 2025 and this and that, and then we're just bouncing off each other. And
Oh, you do New Year's resolutions?
yeah. I've got my wherever my phone is. I've got my goals in there until 2030. When am I 40?
Yeah.
Like 2032 or something like that.
That was
Oh, wow.
one thing he did. He'd do 1 year goal, 2 year goal, 5 year goal, and I'd sit down
That's
and
good.
write them out. And it was always something that stuck in my head. I'd think about it more so than writing it down, but it was
Yeah.
definitely something that.
Yeah, I got my goals in there to like whenever I'm 40, it's 2032 or 2032, I think it is. So I got my goals in my notes, and then we have a book, a dream book that we every year set the goals. So we'll write them down in there, and then at the end of the year, or when you've completed the goal, we'll put in the photo of that event or whatever it is, right? So, but to go back to your question, I set fitness goals every year. I've been setting them since the last time I was in good shape was before I met my wife, which was like 2015 or 16, right?
Oh,
Like
wow.
a shape where I was like, okay, do you know what I mean? I'm happy
I'm
to take my top
jacked.
off. Yeah, I was
I'm
probably like, I
ashamed.
was skinny, but you know, like I was skinny in shape,
Yeah.
right? And that was okay for me back then. And I was happy with that, and I was fit, running, whatever. And then started managing. Miss my wife,
Stress.
all that, then business, stress. I didn't even
Kids.
now. So literally, and I've been setting the old body fat goal every year. Not get to this, lose 5 kilos, get in shape, get shredded, blah blah blah. Never done it. And I don't mind that, like, because I had other focuses, and that is okay as long as I never got to a point where, like, in that period of time, you'd look at me and you'd go, all right, well, he's not the pinnacle of fitness, but he's also not overweight or anything like that. I wasn't like, you couldn't tell that I wasn't focused on that. And I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on my business, my family, and all the rest of it. But then this year, I hurt my back last year, like proper hurt it, like sciatica, pins and needles, couldn't walk, couldn't sleep. It's only literally fixed itself like 6 months ago. Not 6 months ago, 6 to 7 weeks ago. But earlier this year, I couldn't do any training. I was doing a bit of jiu-jitsu, I was doing a bit of boxing. I couldn't even train weights and couldn't do any of that. It stopped. But funnily enough, with this injury, I could run. Like, I could run.
What?
I could run 5-6 Ks, no problem.
How?
I started cat, like, if I was sitting down here now, I'd be like, there'd be tears coming out my eyes. But
wow.
you say go for a 5K run and the pain will go away. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here?
that was
That
like
makes
my
no
ankle.
sense.
It makes no sense, right? But that's what, so I was like, well, I can run, so I'll start running. So I signed up to Sodo to surf, signed up to City to surf. Done those this year,
Oh,
got
did
good
both of
time.
them?
Done both of them, yeah. So one was July, the other one was August.
Yeah, I
got
did
good
some of the
times.
surf as well.
Yeah, so it was good. Yeah, I was actually seeing you when I was running. I was seeing
Did
you.
ya?
Yeah, I did. I was seeing you when I was running.
Should've
I
whacked
did,
him across the head and been like,
Yeah, I
"Hey."
seen him when I was running. And then I started eating good, man. I downloaded I downloaded my Fitness Pal. Even though I've got apps, I signed up to Crunch and I downloaded my Fitness Pal and I have access to 5 or 6 gyms and access to a fitness
I was just
app.
going to say that.
I've access to all of that. I've access to bioscans. I've got access to personal trainers. But
sometimes
couldn't.
you don't want to use your own
Mate,
stuff.
I couldn't.
You know what I mean?
I couldn't. And I was when I
You
went
see
to my
it every
gym.
day. You know?
Yeah, I go into my gym and then people would be asking me questions, clients, trainers, and I could never focus on myself. So then I signed up at Crunch in like March this year, and then dialed in March, about April or May, I think it was, and I just ripped in for 9 weeks, and I was like 83, and I got down to like 76.
You went ham. You made a post about it as well.
Yeah, put up the post. Like I was pretty proud because I hadn't done it
in a
in
while.
like
9 years.
8-9 years,
Yeah.
right? Like, so I was pretty happy with it, and now I'm still in decent shape. Like my blood pressure, like I've done bloods, man. I've done my bloods. I'm 32 now. When I was done the bloods, I was 31 or whatever, and I was having high cholesterol, fucking all this shit was
All
going
these
on. I'm
problems.
like, what the fuck? And then my daughter was born in February, so I'm like.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm a bit
understandable.
paranoid, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna die. Like I'm 32,
Yeah.
high cholesterol.
What's going on?
I'm gonna die for
Yeah.
sure. So then I'm like, that all switched. Like the kids, the cholesterol. It was more. It was never. The physical changes helped, like getting shredded and the 6-pack and all that. That was cool. But it was more what frightened
More
me
about the
was
health side
it was
of
more-
things.
Yeah, just now, like now I don't really give a shit. Like, it's good
About
to
being
look
shredded
good.
and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it's
Yeah.
all right. Like, but more, I want my blood tests every year when I do them to come out healthy,
Yeah.
good, and all of that. So, that's we ended up. So it took me I was being a manager since 2017, and then a business owner from 2019 to today. It took me like 5, 6, 7 years to focus back on myself again.
Wow.
But I also have like
Because your
people-
focus points was
On
your
everything else.
career,
career,
family, all that kind of
businesses,
stuff.
baby, wife, son, all that, everything else, and I think that's how it should be. I think that's how it should be. It's a bit backwards thinking, like, because your health is your wealth type of thing, but
but
I
definitely- you
wanted
can't
to
focus
build
on
my
10
wealth.
things
I
at
wanted
once.
to build my wealth
Yeah.
to then. I knew that I'd get to this point eventually that I could,
Start focusing more on
start
your health and
focusing
stuff
more. Like
anyway.
this year, like I don't have to be anywhere, which is great. I can choose to be where I want to be now. I can choose to go, hey, and that's all I wanted, because I actually got to a point where I wasn't working at all. I took 12 months off work. Like I wasn't doing
wow.
anything. I wasn't doing PT. I wasn't going into the businesses, nothing. And they were operating. They probably weren't operating at a very high level, but they were
But they were
operating.
still
They were
working.
good. They were
Yeah.
fine. All good. But and I thought that was the goal, right? I was reading a book called "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell, and I'm reading the book, and I'm like, already done all this. Like, but then I got to, there was a section in it. Get the section, but pretty much what it was is, when you buy back your time, you need to do shit with your
that
time.
Yeah.
I was sitting at home
Start
watching.
filling it with
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah. I was just sitting at home on the couch watching Joe Rogan and the Nelk Boys and all this. I was just pumping podcasts like 2-3 times a day.
Well, now you get to watch yourself.
Exactly. I can't wait for that one. So
It'll be good.
yeah, that's what I was doing, right? And then I lost all purpose. I don't know if I was depressed or whatever, but like I
Just a low point.
yeah, like I was just like, what am I doing? Like I've got all this time. Do you know it's boring? Like it's fucking boring. It's real boring doing nothing. Like,
Well,
so
you mentioned you need stress for yourself to actually be
I've
good.
discovered a lot about myself in the last 6 to 7 months.
He found himself.
Yeah.
Like I found myself
Yeah.
in Amsterdam, but
Yeah.
that was a different story.
I wouldn't
But
mind,
yeah,
I wouldn't mind finding myself in Amsterdam. But yeah, like I probably was at that point, and then I got back into work, man. And then I realized after working, all I wanted ever, and this is all I want, is the choice to go to work or not go to work.
That's the one,
I
the
don't-
choice.
The choice.
The choice.
If I want to go to work today, I can.
Because
Yeah.
before you had to. Now
Yeah.
it's like, I'll go into work.
Exactly. If
For
I
the
wake
sake.
up, like I don't have to be anywhere next week, right? But I choose to go in there because
Well, you
I
can jump on
want
a
to go in there
podcast whenever you want, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's which is a mad feeling. It's the best thing in the world. But that's what it's all about. It's not working. It's the choice to work or not.
a golden fork in the road.
Exactly. And it turns out that I actually love what I do, and I love
Yeah.
working, and I need to work, and I need the pressure, and I need the stress, and I need all of that to operate at a better, higher
Pressure
level.
makes diamonds.
And
yeah.
and to be myself and have a purpose and be driven, not sit at home. And that some people want the opposite, but that works for like some things work for some people and not for the other.
I could never just stop working.
Doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. I need my diary full of like now saying that I wrap things up by like fucking probably 12 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Hit the pub.
Yeah, not yet, but I like I'll go in, I'll do bits and pieces in a particular area, location or whatever, and then I'll
check the group chats.
train, check the group chats, check the emails, go fix them all up, whatever needs to be fixed, and then I'll go train. Now I get to look after myself. I love training again. I've just started boxing again and kickboxing, which is good because my back's like 100% now, so it's happy days. I can do that.
You're diving deep into it, right?
Yeah, and so it's good. And then I get to pick up my son, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays from daycare, and spend time with him. And
that's mad.
And I'm still working on that part. Like I'm still learning and trying to educate and be better
it's
there.
Forever learning that.
Yeah,
being a parent. It's forever
like you
learning.
never. And then
it's just another aspect of your life.
Exactly.
My parents are still learning about me to this day. I rock up at 8 o'clock at night. Where you been? What are you doing? Why?
You mentioned before that it was in COVID that you learned that you had to work on the business instead of in the business. How would you explain that?
Well, I think, and I know for a fact, like most business owners, most small business owners get caught up and end up getting stuck in that rat race of being an operator, being a technician, and they're doing they're doing the work, the PT, let's say, call it it doesn't matter whatever business it is.
Doing
like if you're an accountant and you're doing all the accounting, like you know, that's not going to grow your business, right? So I was lucky again, read books. I've got good people around me. Obviously I came out of a successful studio in Cogra that my business partner had already mentored and developed people, right? So I knew what I had to do. I knew that my job here is to be a business owner, and the first job was to recruit well and then get leads, make sales, and fill those two boys up so that they're making money. That was the only task. And
that's working on the business.
That's working on the business. Working on the business is at the big. There's all different types of working on the business, but initially, like when there's no revenue, it's to get revenue.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and if you're like if I'm signing up you two boys, and then I'm gonna PT you at say 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. on a Monday, Tuesday night, that's eating up my time where I could have called 5 people that day and booked in 2 consultations, which is gonna
elevate the business.
Exactly. Like, so don't get me wrong though. There's periods of like at the beginning you got to do everything. You got to be in the business, you got to be the manager, you got to be the owner, you got to work on the business, you got to do all of the stuff.
That's what we're doing right now.
You got to do all the stuff, but you got to have that that goal and that vision where you go, okay,
to step away as a technician
and be okay with the people who are in charge fucking up as well, because it's going to happen. But recognize it, train and develop them to be better than you. Like you got to train it. People hold back. Like I've never held back on, like even here, like I'll give you heaps of information. Like I don't care. Like as long as you guys leave or whoever's watching this or whatever, and they leave and they gain value. That's what it's all about, because I'll win somewhere, man. Yeah, I'll win somewhere. I'll win somewhere along the line. It will come back to me. Like I believe that it will come back to me in some shape or form. So if with all the people that, you know, that are working for me or whatever, it's about I need to make these people better than me, or the senior trainer needs to make that PT better than them. And if everyone has that attitude, the whole business is going to be growing and moving in the right direction. But the problem, what can happen is let's say that master trainer that's doing a lot of the development leaves and hasn't trained up the next guy to train up the next guy, and you break the links. You start breaking links, I know what you mean. And then all of a sudden what happens is the handovers are very important. Like if someone does leave the business, or you even if they don't leave the business but they're now not in charge of developing, let's say that person on personal training, if they're not someone else comes in, and if that person hasn't trained the new person of an even higher standards start to drop, and so on. And then all of a sudden over a 6, 12, 18-month period,
you start to notice the repercussions.
100%, because it's like if I give you an A4 sheet of paper and you'll go, oh, that's that, like, because I've done it the whole 9 yards, and then I'll give it to you, and you're like, oh, you don't really need to do this part, and you cut a little bit off, and then you give it to Rianon, and then Rianon's like, oh yeah, you don't need to do this part. You just cut another sheet of the paper off.
Eventually it becomes a little tiny square, you know?
Exactly right. And you've broken the links, and the standards in your business have dropped, or the standards in whatever you're doing drop over time. And then it's a fucking hard fix. You don't want to get to that point. Yeah, it's fixable. Everything's fixable, but it's like it's a bit of a mountain to climb, and everything.
If you've done it right, it's not as much of a mountain to climb.
Exactly right.
Someone leaves, they've been replaced by themselves.
Correct. Anyway. Yeah, exactly right. And ideally better. And that's it. But just always holding people accountable. Like, just make sure you're holding people accountable to that. But yeah, so there's always been a big part of, like, you know, working on the business, not in the business. And it always comes back to training and developing. We always try and aim to train our staff better than we could ever be.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, and we're big, and we set goals set goals with them to allow them to achieve their personal stuff. Like Rianon said, like, a lot of the chats that I have it's not about squats and bench presses and hey, are you checking that person's nutrition? We have managers and senior trainers to do that. When someone talks to me, I'm like, how much money you got? Where are you going? What do you want to do?
Yeah,
you got
stuff. Yeah, the hard questions.
The hard questions.
The questions that you don't have answers to.
Yeah. Why don't you have a holiday booked in next year? Why you're young? Why aren't you going to Europe? Like, what are you doing? You want to own a business? What are you doing to own a business? You want to buy a car? Well, what sort of car? Oh, it's this. Okay, let's work backwards from that. Have you got the money? And then I'm just holding them accountable to those goals, to their personal goals, to all the personal stuff, the stuff that actually matters to them. Because really, they're going to love PT and they're going to love the business if they're within there. But what really, truly, no one's ever going to care about my businesses as much as I care about them. Like, that's it. Yeah. Like, no one's going to care about this business as much as you two are going to care about 100%. It, right? So I recognize that, but I know what they do care about, which is if they want to go on that holiday to Europe next year with their friends and have 10 grand
find
cash.
Themselves like Ray did, you know?
Find themselves in Amsterdam, things like that. And if they want to buy a Corolla or whatever, how do we do that? Work them backwards from there. Because some people just don't know as well, like, and they might not have been shown. So sometimes you just, as a leader, you just act as sometimes a father figure or whatever, and you just guide them through the process and go, everything's going to be, and then also everything's going to be okay when they mess up. It's like, it's all right, don't worry. Back on, let's go again.
So you're eventually going to replace yourself by mentoring all those people.
I hope so. That's the goal. That's the goal. But then I'm like I kind of am. Like, I don't.
Well, you have at certain points. You replace yourself as a PT by hiring PTs. Then you replace yourself as a manager by hiring managers.
Yeah.
And now you're at the stage of just walking into the business and seeing it run. Yeah.
That's it. You got to make yourself redundant. Like,
well, you did. You did it for 12 months.
That's it.
And you're like, oh, no, this is shit. So you're back in.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Just in a different format.
Just in a different way. And it was great for me. It revitalized me again. But yeah, you got to make yourself redundant, right? That's the aim of the game. And if you do that, then you go, all right, how do I do that? And the answer is, all right, I got to train that person up to do X, Y, and Z.
What do I do?
Yeah.
In this certain sector, for example.
You'd be surprised at as well. Like, you know, just people that are better at tasks than me as well, like way better. You know, I always consider myself really good at sales and stuff like that, and I am. But there's better salespeople than me, like that actually follow a process and get better programs sold.
Well, because they just do sales.
Exactly.
Whereas you do recruitment, you do sales, you do PT, you do all these other things.
Yeah. So if you can try and hire on that as well, it helps. You know, like get people that are good at certain things, and then let them run with it and let them mess up and give them the feedback and guidance and then and sometimes you might need to make a difficult call as well, going, you know what, that was a poor hire and you might need to let them go or whatever, or that does happen.
That's always pretty hard though.
You get used to it. You get used to it. It's just like anything. Like now, like now it's easy for you because you've done it that many times. Emotionless to it. Yeah, unless it's a difficult one, like where I'm like, fuck, because you know the worst thing in life is when you see someone with talent and they're just wasting it. That's the killer. It's someone that's so talented and they're just pissing it up against the wall.
Or if you stayed in Bondi.
Yeah, well, me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you-
you.
you
Yeah,
stayed
yeah.
in
Oh,
London.
yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Oh, I would have been down in what's that pub in the corner, the Tea Garden. For sure. Yeah, every day, and I was for a
Oh,
period.
Danny boy, what's going on?
Yeah, for a period of time. But like going back to
But
that,
you got
right?
yourself out of that.
Mate, circle of
And look where
influence.
you are
Circle
now.
of influence is the most important
about to
thing.
say.
Like I was I've been surrounded by good and bad, and I can tell you, like when you're surrounded by people who are leveling up, doing more, you it
End up
forces
doing that
you,
yourself.
forces you
Yeah.
to do it. It forces you
It's
to
all
do
about
it.
environment.
Yeah. Like all my, I'm so
Atomic
like,
habits. Yeah.
exactly. Like I'm blessed. Like I don't know. Like I think I'm blessed as well. Like that. I'm surrounded by such good people, like family, extended family, my best mates, business partners. Everyone around me is hungry for success, and like is different for different
Different for
people.
everyone, obviously.
Yeah, that like what that is, but everyone is hungry, and everyone's hungry and driven to strive for more.
That's more credit to you, though.
yeah.
You've created that around yourself as well because of your
Well, you've
mentality.
influenced other
Some,
people.
yeah,
around you
look,
as well.
yeah, look, because all my mates, and all that are people who we've met through Vision and
Yeah.
hired as well. Not all of them. There's some people that we've met through other people, but a lot of them are all people who we've hired in and brought into the circle, I guess. So we kind of create. You're right. Like we've kind of
You
created
created
that.
your own
Yeah.
circle in
Kind
that
of
way.
create our own one, and everyone bounces off each other, and
Yeah.
we're all kind of growing together, which is cool. So we got some big goals over the next couple of years. But yeah, 100%. The circle of influence is very important. People
Big
who you
time.
spend time around, and then when you start to, you should be always seeking out new people, new circles as well. You don't necessarily need to ditch circles or anything like that. But if you
New
need
circles that
that are,
stage of your life sort of thing.
yeah, that are at levels that you
Oh,
want
you
to
said
eventually
levels above
get to.
yourself, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because you
so-
got friends that you say that are better than you in some aspects.
Yeah,
Not better than
well,
you,
look,
but
I
like
have a guy.
achieving bigger things.
Yeah, look, I've had, believe it or not, my first ever client, right? Hopefully he watches this. He'll give me feedback on it. Bernard Kelly, right? McDonald's guy. Back in 2012 or whenever it was, he was like an RFM of these McDonald's studios in the city, right? Doing very well, whatever. I was a 21-year-old PT with a dream. One day I want to own a business. And then he's like, yeah, one day I want to own a McDonald's studio, right? Anyway, I left McDonald's. Yeah,
Studio?
McDonald's store.
Franchise, yeah,
McDonald's
yeah.
store,
Yeah, yeah.
McDonald's store. And anyway, fast forward, I left, and then I don't know what happened. He started training or left or whatever. But we always kind of had each other on Facebook. And then I opened up Mortdale. He reaches out going, fuck, congratulations. I remember you as a kid saying that. And then I started messaging him, and he was just about to get his first store.
Oh,
right?
wow.
McDonald's store.
McDonald's store, right?
They're expensive as
yeah,
well.
there's a lot goes with that sort of stuff, right? But then he's just like over the last 5 years gone to another level. In like he might have 5 or 6 now as well, like something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah, and obviously I've gone.
You guys
from,
are growing at the same rate.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
going. Yeah. Well, we're going. But what I'm trying to get at is I always reach out to him for advice. Like the latest one that we just acquired, like he's the first person on my list. I'm like, hey man, what do you think about this? Do you think I should do it? I've done it now, like with 2 businesses that we've acquired that could come with some headaches and stuff like that. And I always reach out to him, and I go, hey, what do you think of this? These are the pros, these are the cons. And he's always like devil's advocate as well. And he'll spit back some things that he thinks could go wrong, could go right. And then I'll just get information from someone that's been there, done it. Like he'd have thousands of staff. Like I've got 30, 40. He's got thousands, young kids and that. Like they're running serious operations over there. But like you said
Yeah,
earlier,
Macca's is huge.
our systems are very similar,
Yeah.
But he's been through it, and he's a smart guy. So and you know what's funny? When you reach out to people for advice, they're so happy to give it. They just give it. Like he saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars. This guy, and he just
Having to
no
pay for
drama.
mentors, it's someone that you actually know.
I've never paid him a cent. Never paid him a cent. Never paid him a cent, but he saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars because I
There
just
we
go,
go.
hey mate, can we catch up for coffee? Can we catch up for a brunch or whatever, lunch, this and that? Not all the time. Probably I might see him twice a year. You know what I mean? Might message him maybe.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's
Okay.
gained something from talking to you. as well,
Probably, yeah. I never really asked him that, but maybe if he's watching this, maybe he can let me know. But yeah, 100%. But I think you have to be reaching out to these people, asking for advice, and then and don't be afraid because people love like, look at this. Like, I'm here. I love talking
Yeah, I
about
was just
myself.
about to
Like, I
mention,
love
yeah.
talking shit like this sort of stuff. Like, it's good because I hope someone, like, if someone in 5 years' time goes, "Hey, Denny, I seen that podcast. I took this out of it." I'm like, that's the best shit in the world. Like, seeing someone do something because you had an influence in them or an impact on their journey is the best thing in the world. Like the
100%.
Dylan Domesky at Concord, the Concord studio that we have. He trained with me from like 14 years of age, lost weight, studied at uni, done his thing at uni, came worked for me at Mortdale. He's like, "Danny, I want to own a business." I'm like, "Yeah, sweet, let's make it happen." Made it happen. And now he's out there running Concord, doing well and learning as he goes as well. But like, he's come from a 14-year-old kid training with me to open it. Like, that's one of my proudest moments, like, ever. Seeing that growth, you know, from
And they're
kid
two
to,
clients of yours.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. So, no, it's pretty cool. But yeah, you got to ask people for advice and don't be afraid to ask them. And people generally love
Giving out
it.
advice.
Giving it,
100%.
yeah. I think
Especially
so,
if it's
anyway.
in their field as well.
Yeah, or business as well. Like, it doesn't really matter like what business you own. I think it's all about people, systems, processes,
Communication.
100%.
It's all the same stuff. So, it's just the product is different sometimes.
I was going to ask if there was one bit of advice that you would give us as new and up and coming business owners. What would you give? Tough question.
It's not. I have the answer. I know the answer. I'm just want to word it correctly because it's such a. If you you can only quit on your best day, all right?
You can only quit on your best day.
You can only quit on your best day.
I'm trying to think of that one.
Like, let's
Why
say,
would you ever quit on your best day?
exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So
Okay.
if you're not going to quit on your best day, that's it. You can only quit on your best day. That's it. So when the fucking sales are cranking and the money's hitting the bank account, if you're not willing to wrap it up, then figure the other shit out. Figure it out. That's it. Like, you can't quit on your best day. Okay. Now, you wouldn't quit on your best day. So on the hard days, figure it out. Figure it out.
There's always a solution.
Most of the time, like, there's a solution. There's someone that's been there. It goes back to what we just spoke about. Like, reach out, find someone who's been there, done that, and just listen and learn. Come out the other end. Like, that's why, like, I've been lucky because with my business partner with Cogra, he was just making mistakes along the way, right? And then he was just learning as he was making the mistakes. So then I come along and I just don't make those same mistakes. I made other mistakes, but I just didn't make the same mistakes, right? Because he's like, "Oh, don't do that." You know, I remember that one of the days I was sitting in, like, we just opened the business, and I'm like, "Mate, we got no money. Like, there's no money." So, like, he just comes in, he's like, "It's all right. This is what we do. We just do this, this, and this. We pay this later. We pay this." Like, because you're like, at the beginning, you're like, everyone's got to be paid today, and that's not really how it works. It doesn't have to. Yeah, you can go, "Hey, mate, I can't afford the $1,000. Can I pay you $50 over the next 10 weeks?" You know, I think I had my lawyer bill. I think I had a lawyer bill, something like that as well. Like, I'm like, fuck, it's like $5. Like, I'd paid a lump sum, and I then had to whatever the remaining was, $5,000 or something. And he's like, "Yeah, just call him up and say, we'll just give you $100 over the next whatever, how many weeks it is." And that was it.
Businesses are created on debt, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, not all, but, you know, sometimes you do have to borrow a bit of money, and you know, I have for all of them. I've used bits and pieces of my money, my own money, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I just borrow other people's money to do it. Yeah, and that comes with costs. Like, there's costs involved.
Like interest.
There's interest. There's, you know, loan agreements, documentation, stuff like that. But there's it's just
using other people's money.
Cost of doing business, using other people's money, and I get to get a return.
You have more freedom for yourself.
Yeah, that, and I get a return on their cash. I get a return on the cash, invest it, right? Like, so I think it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for me because I get the money to open a business to make money, and it's a win for the person who lends the money because they get their interest on top. Yeah, it's obviously a risk for them as well, but I think because I get to borrow, I've got a good track record, so I can get it, you know. So yeah, what was your question?
I was going to ask, when was the last time you did a PT session?
I did one yesterday morning. I did what day is today?
So you're still PTing to this day?
No, I came back in July. Started working at my Balmain one twice a week. Started doing no PT there, just one-on-one meetings, mentoring and stuff like that, marketing, just marketing, administration stuff, nothing sales related, just to take a bit of and recruitment, just take a bit of pressure off the my business partner there, so that he could focus on one thing, sales, and grow the business, which turned out it worked and it happened. And then I'm like, I want to do PT on my set, so I train 1, 2, 3, 4. I train 4 people, half an hour sessions each on a Wednesday from 6 to like 6:30, and then 8 and 8:30, and then some of them train on a Monday morning from 6 to 7. So what's that? 1, 2, 3 hours.
That's
3 hours.
mad.
3 hours.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I just texted him yesterday. I'm like, hey, I'm away. I'm not really away, but like I'm just not going in to do PT for 3 weeks. So I said I'll be back second week of January. So do that. But the people who I train, like I like training them, and they're not like, they don't really need too much from me, because I'm not giving them I'm not also giving them the service that sometimes they deserve, right? Like I'll give them PT session, we're involved, there's progressive overload, there's all that stuff, but it's not like I don't have the time. And I've been transparent with them. Like I go, look, I'm probably not going to be checking your food diaries and texting you outside these sessions. Like, is that okay with you? And they're okay with that, you know.
Like what your other PTs would
Exactly. Hopefully they're doing. Hopefully they're doing. Hopefully they're doing a great level of service. But they understand my position and what I do, and that. And then there's also, it's open. Like if they need to sack me, I am okay with them sacking me. You know what I mean? But these people that I train have been there for a very long time. And they're awesome people to train, and I'm learning from a lot of these people as well, and I'm probably learning from me in different aspects as well. So not yesterday morning, Wednesday morning, and everyone else cancelled on Wednesday morning, so I only done 6 to 6:30 on Wednesday morning. Yeah, no, only half an hour. But
how's this experience been for you on the podcast?
It was good. I was nervous, to be honest. Like I was nervous, and
a lot of people that come on before, they're like, "Oh shit, cameras, mics, headphones."
Never really
because
done
everyone's
it.
been like their first time.
Yeah.
Never done it. Had a interview like when boys, or like when Vision do a management training. So that was probably 2 years ago. They bring in an owner on a Wednesday. They interview them like this, not like this, but it's like a one-on-one interview, and then they open it up to the floor to some questions. So that was the last time. And
you got 21 questions, what?
Yeah, I've got a few questions. We've got a few questions there. So yeah, but then after that, like nothing really. There was a few times at conferences where they get you up and speak. But this is the first time of this. But I was nervous. And then I was saying this morning to the boys, like I go, I'm doing this today, and because about the goals for 2025, and I'm like, I need shit like this that makes me nervous and
keeps you accountable as well.
Yeah, like accountability gets me good at the public speaking and seeing what I say, and whether it's correct or not, I don't really care if it's correct or not. Like whatever, that's my opinion and my experience exactly. But I was nervous, and I'm like, you know what? Now I'm not. Like the minute I started talking, I'm like, it just went away.
Yeah, and it just flowed into normal conversation.
Yeah, and that's what I think it's all about. Like you gotta just
Once
jump
you
in the
over
shit.
that hurdle.
Yeah, now there's no problems ever again doing a podcast, and hopefully Joe Rogan calls me.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the next step after this. Well, go, all right, Joey, let me fly into Austin, Texas, and jump on. We talk about some serious shit.
Yeah.
Definitely won't be talking about business and recruitment.
They say that like fear or like that nervous feeling you had, it's like a puddle. It's like a mile wide, but it's an inch deep.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like I've experienced it a few times this year, you know, and every time you jump into that puddle, like,
you realize it's not as scary as I thought.
But you go to another level of growth. Like you just go to another level. You unlock level 5 or level 6, you know, and then that. Like I was literally saying this to the boys this morning, or to Matt. Like that's what it's about. You got something that like makes you fearful, gives you that sick stomach,
pushes your soul to that next level
stomach.
Sort of thing.
You do it, and you're like,
that's
not that bad. Like I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago. Like he wanted to spar me, right? Like he's getting decent, right? Like I haven't been doing anything boxing. Like I was just doing little bits and pieces. Anyway, he wants to spar me. I'm down trying to sign this new studio, so I'm stressed. I'm like trying to get this deal done on a Friday morning between 6 and 9 a.m. Right, trying to wrap up a business deal, knowing that I have to spar this fucker at like 11 o'clock, and I'm just like, I get this deal done. Like the business side of things, like I'm just wrapping up a business deal, not a problem. Easy, blah, 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 blah. But then that 9 o'clock is done. And then this, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna spar this guy like that. But then I done it, and I'm like,
Oh,
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And you just go, oh, that's okay, and you go to the next level, right?
Mile wide, inch deep.
That's it, 100%. I like that, like because but you got to jump in, you got to have a crack at it, and when you have a crack at it and you come out the other end, feels so much better, and you just unlock that new level of growth. New devils come, and you try and figure it out. And I just think that's what life's all about. Well, for me anyway.
Trying out new
Treat it like a
things.
game. It's like a game. It's like a game. You're just like, bop. All right, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Let's go. Bang, bang, bang. I'm addicted to that, though. I'm addicted to the game. I'm addicted to
That's
like
what the business journey is
achievement,
about, I reckon.
winning. I love winning, competitiveness. I don't mind, but I love winning, but I don't mind losing.
Yeah.
Some people hate losing. Some people are afraid to lose. I don't mind. I'm all right. I can lose. It's all good. I'm happy. Like, this one that we just took on, it's like everyone's like, oh, it's stupid, blah, 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 blah. All this, you shouldn't, like all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I'd rather die not having a crack at it
Than not knowing.
Than not knowing,
Well, that's a true testament to your success, though, because, the only way you've won or succeeded in any type of success that you talk about would be from failures, from losses, and you've experienced heaps, right?
100%. Heaps, probably too many. I wish there was less, but, I don't. They've all happened for a reason.
It's led you here, right?
100%.
On a podcast, Mike.
100%.
Talking
No,
about
not the
trees.
podcast.
I'm joking.
Yeah. No, well, I don't. But why did you bring me on? Why am I here? Like, why did you?
Because you were a big influential part of my life, and I knew that you had potential to affect, someone watching this video.
Started a business.
And exactly right. That was another part of it.
What was that?
That you essentially got me to start my own business as well.
Yeah.
Like when we came together, he actually mentioned you as like the driving factor why he wanted to do it.
Yeah. You've probably seen, like, obviously you're saying how I was operating down there as well.
That's what I was. That's what I was really honing in on.
Yeah, I remember, because I remember having a coffee with you, and you had your A4 notepad, and you're just like jotting down things. I'm like, this bloke's interviewing
still
me.
does that.
Yeah, he's interviewing me, asking me like, how does it? Like, we're just having a PT chat, but he's hitting me with like management questions, sales questions. So I always knew that the day was going to come.
Yeah.
I just didn't know when. But yeah, but you always had that, which is good. Like, it was the same as me. I was always gonna leave and work for myself and do my own thing, and
you did it.
Yeah, and did it. Yeah. So no, it's it's a cool journey. It's a cool journey for sure.
100%.
Buckle up.
Yeah,
More of a journey to come.
Yeah, no, it's going to be big. I think 2025 is going to be big.
Yeah.
We're primed for growth. We have all ducks are all lined up. All the studios are in a mad position to grow. We've got, I've got a leadership coach working with myself directly, because I go back to the PD, the books and all that. Like I'll probably read 1 or 2 books next year, but now I've got a leadership coach that's going to work with me one-on-one, work with the leaders in each business, and also work with them one-on-one outside the group setting as well.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah, because I learned a lot this year going, you don't what is the saying? You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, right? So we got to put, like, all last year we were in the same position, like, what's the goal? And everyone was like, this X dollars a week, and 10,000 a week, 20,000 a week, 30,000 a week.
All into your system.
And there was no systems in place. Like, someone comes, hey, I want to lose 10 kilos. You're like, okay. The first question I'd ask is like, what are you going to do to lose 10 kilos? And you're like, oh, I'm going to walk 4 times.
It back.
Yeah, break it down.
What do you have to do every day to pitch away at that goal?
What does it take? So we're putting systems in place like leadership to make everyone a better leader. We've got things like our marketing's been taken care of. It's all streamlined, systemized, because that's what it takes to go to the next level. And then it just allows the people within the business to become better leaders, train and develop people to be better than themselves. And then everything else takes care of itself.
There we go.
Yeah.
And it's repeatable.
Exactly right. So yeah, 2025, I can't wait. And then maybe a few more of these podcasts.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And,
locked in.
Maybe, like I'm excited for it. And then I want to, as I was saying to you, maybe start doing a bit of coaching myself.
Yep.
But that would probably be towards the back end of next year.
Yep.
And just one-on-one, high-level coaching in... Probably could do business, but I'd rather just keep it niche into what we do.
Well, you've been coaching for 13 years, so you already know how to be a coach.
Yeah.
And it's just like translating it from PT to business coaching.
To business, yeah. And I've
You've
experienced...
been doing that for...
Yeah. And I've experienced a lot in business. So, yeah, that's the idea is to start helping other business owners same stuff as me, or have and I've overcome that and teach them better, faster, quicker ways.
Be
to
someone
do it.
else's mentor in a way.
Correct, yeah. And I think I can add heaps of value to people. So that's
Well, just from this podcast, I can see your wealth of knowledge. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much for coming on.
Not a problem.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
All right, awesome.
Where
Thanks,
can
boys.
people find you?
How can where or how?
Yeah.
Just DM me on DanBoyPT. That was my Instagram name.
give him a wink as well.
That was the Instagram name back in when Instagram first started in like whenever I started being a PT. I'm like, oh well, this is it.
DanBoyPT.
DanBoyPT. I never changed that. Or just email me at dcollins@visionpt.com. Just email me.
You heard it here first, ladies.
Which
and
one am
gents.
I looking at? Am I looking at this
You're
one?
looking at that one. I'm looking at that one.
around.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. No, thanks, boys, for having me on. I appreciate it.
it.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Evolv podcast.
Brendon and I have loved having you throughout this whole podcast. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if friends are interested, share it around.
Yeah, make sure you share and tag us on your Instagram posts, and I'll see you soon.
See you guys. Little boogie to finish.